So Japan has the third largest economy in the world, but experienced slow or no growth until recently.
Yeah, it's a tricky market and a tricky one to call, although in recent times we know that they have waded in. Shinzo Abe, the Prime Minister for the last 2.5 years, has dealt with their issues by stimulating that economy beyond people's prior reasoning.
Broadly known as Abenomics.
Exactly. So in fact, the Nikkei 225, which we'll see in a minute, has really done very, very well recently. It shot up to an all-time high, close to 21,000 points, might even be above that. And remember, the underlying constituents are the likes of Toyota, Mitsubishi, NTT-Docomo, Canon, all those sorts of companies.
Where do we stand when it comes to Japan? Firstly, have you been one of the believers or the non-believers to this point, Maya?
Well, I think if you
it's
look
been a long night watching the Greek referendum.
No problem. I think if you look at the chart, just the movement of this industry over the last couple of years, it did reach a low point where it would have been very, very difficult for us to think that it could go even lower. And it started to, come out of that trough, and it did very well from there. So we know it's a currency situation for Japan as well that played into their hands, and for all these companies as well. So for us, this was mostly driven by that, more than it was driven by the economic growth in these companies. So not so sure I'd be invested in this, but it has done well.
It's done incredibly well. So the likes of Pete Viljoen from ReCM must be very happy with that performance, because they've long been a supporter.
Yeah, and I've been a huge skeptic. So after 2014, when it did so well and they came in and they weakened the currency and everything was going gangbusters, I said, no, they can't carry this on. Well, in fact, that's not true at all. It's gone much higher since then. So a big fail on my part. Look, it's a big economy, and it's probably wrong to write them off. You can't say, oh, well, because they're only old Japanese people, they got low growth rates, they got low birth rates, it's kind of finished, because it's a big enough economy to sustain itself internally.
The third largest in the world, may I remind you.
And it's got magnificent and hugely successful companies like Toyota, as we mentioned there. So they're going to take that global business model and take their manufacturing prowess globally. Having said that, can they sustain this kind of thing? Is it a market that I feel comfortable investing in? I worry a little bit about the level of the currency. I can never work out whether it's too strong or too weak. It's not an environment where
So even though you've got it wrong to this point, you're still going to on not being involved in Japanese economics.
I mean, that rise there at the end has come against a global backdrop of equity markets being weak for the last 3 months.
Well, Mia agrees with you.
I agree. I think, like I said, this is more currency effect than anything else. And yeah, I agree. There are certain companies in this economy that I would be interested in, companies that are focused on aging population, etc. But I wouldn't be interested in holding the whole market. And when you buy the DBX, you're buying the 400 largest companies in this industry, or in this market, which for me is a bit, of an overkill. I wouldn't want that exposure to the Japanese market.
Well, you're both negative on it, so I'm assuming a not hot, Mr. Turan.
Yeah, let's call it not hot, just in a general
Yeah, just
avoid
put it in there for the record, not hot.